Hi, everybody. It's Carrie again. Okay, today this is going to be a little interesting. Not sure how I feel about it, but we're going to talk about the ring. Now, that probably sounds like an engagement ring, wedding ring, something like that. It wasn't, it was a ruby ring. This happened in my second marriage. Neither one of my marriages did I have an official wedding, so to speak. My first marriage, I went to Vegas and got married. My second one, we just went to the Justice of the Peace. And maybe I'll do a wedding video. I don't know to explain it. But yes, I had rings from both marriages. I should note that in my first marriage, when I left the ring behind. And he had asked, after I left, he wanted the ring back. And I told him, I says, well, you had the ring. I hadn't worn the ring in years because we got into this big fight. And in that fight, I put the ring in the cabinet. I told him, I said, well, your ring is here. Whenever you choose to be a married man and really love me, you can give it back to me. Otherwise, it's always going to be here. It's sat there for probably 5 or 6 years. He never once gave me that ring back. But when we got divorced, he did ask me where it was. He wanted it back. I said, you've had it all along. It was always just in that cabinet. He went and looked in the cabinet while he was on the phone with me, and then he remembered, yeah, the ring is still there. So that's my first wedding ring. My second wedding ring I'm going to get into a little bit later. First, I'm going to talk about this ruby ring. Towards the end, during that last year when my husband was poisoning me, but at the time I did not realize I was being poisoned yet. I had this necklace that was a gold cross with some diamonds in it. It was just a small little cross, nothing big. And I wore it daily. I never took it off. I wasn't religious or anything, but it was still my connection to Christ, which I felt like I had at that time. Even though I was technically Wiccan, I still had my cross. And I did believe in Christ in a way, but I didn't understand Christ, I should say. So what ended up happening was one morning, I got up and the chain had broken. It was a really thin gold chain. And anyone that knows me knows that I have a metal allergy. So I have to have like 14 karat gold or greater. So you don't see jewelry on me. It's too expensive. But so I needed a new chain, and I was really distraught. First, we couldn't find the cross because it fell off of the broken chain. Then, when we did finally find it, I didn't have a chain to wear it. So we ended up going one weekend to a jewelry store where we had bought previous jewelry, and we were looking for this chain. Well, first we were looking for the cross, and a different cross because we hadn't found the cross. So that we went to several jewelry stores like the weekend before that looking for it. Then we found the cross at home. So then we just went to get the actual chain. And so we're looking at these chains. Well, in the meantime, there had been another jewelry man or whatever there that was also trying to sell some of his custom made one of a kind settings. And so I just happened to be looking, at these settings, and I found this beautiful diamond setting that I just loved. And I said, oh, that would be so beautiful with a ruby in it. And a ruby is my birthstone, so I've always loved rubies. And the guy goes, yeah, that really would be. Well, it was kind of expensive, but the jewelry store that we were in said that they could custom order a ruby for that. They only had the man-made rubies. So I said, I would want a genuine ruby, a mined ruby in this. So they helped us find one, and we found this genuine ruby, and it was relatively large, a couple carats. And then, there was the ring as well. The whole thing came to like $15,000. And I was freaking out going, we shouldn't buy this right now. My marriage was going downhill kind of. And, then at that point, my second husband, who's now my ex, was kind of contemplating a little bit. He goes, well, I don't know, and I says, let's not do it. He goes, well, just a moment. And he left the store. And I didn't know where he went, if he was going back. So I'm just talking to these people in the jewelry store. And I was like, we shouldn't buy this ring. It's kind of expensive. I don't think we should invest in it right now. And so I was hinging towards that and kind of telling the jewelry store people that when he comes back in. And he goes to me, he says, I said, we're not going to get it. He goes, no, get it. I said, no, we're not going to do it. We're not ready to make this random decision without a conversation. He's like, no, buy it. I'm like, okay. I mean, he was very domineering about getting the ring. So I get the ring, and we buy it, and they size it, and they get this ruby and put it in, and we come back and we get it. I'm all excited about it. And though, I remember the drive home when we got the ring, and he was just so, like, not there. Like, he was not happy I was wearing this ring or something. I couldn't understand what was going on. And at the same time, I had resized my wedding ring because it didn't fit. I had lost a bunch of weight and it wasn't fitting. So we also had that resized, and that was a pretty nice ring too. But I'll get to that. Anyway, there was just something off with him. Finally, he just looked at me and he says, consider it the wedding you never had. I thought, okay, we were planning initially like a $25,000 wedding. And what ended up happening was I decided that funds were kind of tight, and he had 2 children already, and we really should just invest that money in a family versus a one-day event. So we ended up waiting like 3 years before we got married. We just went to the justice of the peace. But I'm not one to go out and spend loads of cash on stuff. So even with the wedding, which was supposed to be our day, I just couldn't see throwing all that money into that when we had. I was going to, when I say we, because as a stepmother, it was important for me to think of those children as my own, had children to raise. So I think that was a wise decision. But with this ruby ring, then he said, consider it your wedding. I was like, oh, wow. Yeah, I guess we could. We never did have that. So, but he still wasn't happy about it. I could tell. It wasn't too long after that when he ended up, basically I found out he was poisoning me. And even during this whole ring thing, he was poisoning me already. He knew I was going to die. In hindsight and retrospect, and what I found out later, when he left the store to talk to his new girlfriend, the person he was planning on starting a new life with the life insurance money they were going to get off of my death. He asked her if she wanted this ring, and apparently she did. So yes, I got to design it, I got to pick the stones, but he was buying the ring for her, and that's why he was so adamant that I should get it, and why he was so upset I was wearing it. He wasn't buying it for me. It was not my wedding. Makes a lot of sense now, where I couldn't put the pieces together then because I did not know what was all happening behind my back. And I should let you know that my wedding ring, which was about 10 grand, overall, I had about $50,000 in jewels. And in the end, I was allowed to keep that jewelry. Here's Violet. She's back, making an appearance again. I was allowed to keep it in the divorce. When we walked out of our final day, out of the courtroom, I had all of the jewelry in a bag, and except for my gold cross with the chain, I was wearing that I was going to keep, but I did give him the 50 grand in jewels. And he was shocked because he says, you got those in the divorce, because that's part of your money. And I said, I know, but they're not really mine. I didn't purchase them. I didn't pay for them. They're not mine, and they're not my right to own or fight for in a divorce. So even though the judge gave them to me, they're yours, and I gave them all back. Shortchanged myself in the divorce there a little bit, but when it came down to it, I was a Christian by that time, and I didn't feel right taking something he purchased. It was his money. I never put a penny towards that jewelry. That was always something, if he bought me jewelry, it came out of his pocket. And I felt it would be really wrong for me to take it. And so I gave it back. I kept the gold cross, which was a Christmas gift that he had given me. So I looked at that as more of a gift. Plus, I didn't want to be away from my cross. The sad part of that is about 3 months after I left him, I had spent about 3 months in a domestic abuse shelter. Then I finally had gotten enough money to get an apartment. But once I got the apartment, I realized I wasn't making enough money at the time because I had to move communities and everything, get a new job. I mean, I started with $0. And to get even the things that I needed for daily living, that's where my money went. I had no money left over for food. Eventually, after 3 weeks of quite literally starving, not having a single morsel of food, just tap water, I finally pawned the gold cross for $300, which was taxes were so much more. It was priceless to me. But I had food. And I always say that's how God provided. And I didn't need a cross to remember that Christ was with me every day. I just needed to talk to Christ, and he'd be there. So it was quite a learning lesson. I wasn't a Christian when I got rid of the cross yet either, so I did not feel the way I feel now about it back then. But the one thing that, and I shouldn't be proud, so to speak, but I am happy with myself, was that I did give all that jewelry back to my ex because it wasn't mine. And even though there was a fight over it, he got it. He was just I think the ruby ring was considered an engagement ring to the new girl because it was the first thing he fought for in the divorce, is he demanded to get that ring back. So that was, and at the end of this video, I've got, hopefully he comes up, I have a special little friend. My Violet here's not going to be happy about it, but I got a kitten from a friend, so to speak. A friend had kind of visited and left it behind. And here he comes. So I'm going to try to do this without both my cats fighting here, because he's new to the household, so Violet's still getting used to him, and he just wants to play right now. He does not want me to pick him up. He's just playing, so I'm just going to let him play, and maybe we'll show him in the next video. And my Bible verse, anyway, is from Daniel chapter 6, verse 17. Oh, wait. No. He'll come back. He's a cute one. It's a boy, so I call him my little man. He's my little man. That's his name. Anyway, see my darn tangents I go off on. But anyway, Daniel chapter 6, verse 17. It says, "A stone was brought and laid over the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet ring, and with the signet rings of his nobles, so that nothing would be changed in regards to Daniel." Now this was Daniel in the den. There we go. There's my new little friend. It's my little man. He's very black, so you can't see much of him. See, he's just peeking in. Maybe look at closer. He's very playful. He's fun. He's so lovable, and he's so cute. You gotta love him. But anyway, he's a gift from God. he's a gift from God. So he notice how he comes in when I bring up the Bible phrase. So yeah, my total gift from God. Um, Rings were important back in the Old Testament, and you probably see it in the old movies and stuff where they seal everything with wax and ring. Those are the signet rings. And yes, little man, we see you. he to seal Daniel in the den to make sure that nothing could stop him from being eaten, alive by the lions, which never happened. The next day, Daniel got out, which made sealing that so much more important because of the fact that had it not been sealed and they used their signet, they could have said somebody helped Daniel or Daniel wasn't in the den the whole time. But this proved God's work, that God was protecting Daniel that whole time. And yeah, you can see even a stone was brought and laid over it, just like the precious stones that we have. Now, I will have you know, from my Wicca days to now, I used to use crystals a lot. And at first, when I became a Christian, I thought crystals were bad, but after reading the Bible, God constantly talks about crystals and jewels and the beauty of them and how he had things decorated with these jewels, whether it be garments or buildings. And so I do still believe there is a power in the crystals, and it is something that God definitely, he's peeking around the corner. I don't know if any of you are noticing this because I can see it. I think, and there he is. He's no other side. He's peeking. He's trying to play and he's peeking. So he's playing with you guys now. My little man. But anyway, um, jewels and crystals are very important. However, not more important than the soul. So, what is my whole point with the ring? God used stones and rings um, in significant ways, and giving back that to somebody when it wasn't mine was extremely important. Um, could I have pawned them and gotten a lot of money off of it? Absolutely. I knew I wasn't going to wear any of that jewelry again because it was given to me by another man. And any man that I'm with in the future probably isn't going to be really thrilled that I'm wearing another man's jewelry. So there wasn't anything of significance left in it for me. I have learned that basic things. Would I ever want a $15,000 ruby ring again? No, I don't. I really don't. Um, simple things are the symbolism, not the value of it, not that dollar amount. None of that matters anymore. I don't really even think a ring is needed to prove loyalty or faithfulness if you're with somebody that you really love and trust. But please don't buy your mistress jewelry that you tell your wife it's for her and then try to kill her so you can give it to the mistress. I really don't know what the whole moral of the story is, but it's what happened to me. And I do see the significance of jewels in God's eyes, and they are beautiful, but they're not worth selling a human being for them. Okay, and kind of for the ruby ring, it was one of those things that he was going to get his money back for the life insurance, so it was worth it to him. And unfortunately, not so worth it now, I wouldn't think. And if he ever does go to jail, probably really not so worth it. So time will tell on what kind of justice is going to come out of that. But the ring wasn't worth it. It actually just put a bigger bounty on my life because he needed more money to cover that expense. So I should have said no. I should have demanded no by the time she had already wanted the ring. So live and learn. Anyway, thank you for sticking around, especially my adventure with my animals. And little man's eating now. So apparently he just wanted to make his debut performance and show everybody how handsome he is. I don't know, any guy I date is going to have some big competition there because that little man, he's pretty handsome. So I could be content just with him for the next 15 years. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful day and take care. Love ya.